time,
Now you're live.
I never. Now we're on, right?
Now it says this
So
stream
we
is
just
live.
did
Yeah.
15 minutes of nonsense, and nobody heard a word we said.
No.
Unbelievable. You know why? Because I didn't hit live.
Oh my
I
God.
did everything else right, but I didn't hit live. So everything that we talked about, nobody heard a word.
Well,
So
let's start over.
let's start over. Okay. Dominic, for you folks out there, and I never mentioned. So let me start. Let me start from the beginning. Let me answer that guy's question real quick. The question was from a guy. I can't think of his name because I lost it on the computer because I moved everything up here. The question was, will the Meadowlands ever get a casino? And the answer is this. When the Meadowlands first opened, Atlantic City was going with the casinos. The casinos were given as a subsidy, I think, $90 million for Monmouth Park and the Meadowlands. And that lasted for a while until Christie became the governor of New Jersey. And he ended it. When he ended it, the Meadowlands was in serious trouble, and they just about closed until Gorell came and he made a deal with them, and he leased the racetrack from the state. Now, because of his connections, I guess, he was able to get the state to give him come up with $20 million in subsidy money. I think that, and they split that between Monmouth Park and the Meadowlands, because the casinos in Atlantic City didn't want to come anywhere. No casinos up north. They just wanted it down there. So Gorell was able to get 20 million, and I think he got 10 of that million. Monmouth Park got the other 10, and for 5 years. The 5 years is up this year, I think, this year or next year, and the casinos will not subsidize anything. The only saving grace, and if this don't happen, the Meadowlands is going to be in serious trouble. There's a bill right now on the governor's desk to help both racetracks up north, Monmouth and the Meadowlands. If he don't sign that bill, Meadowlands is in a lot of trouble. So that answers that question. Now, let's get to my two friends here. And for those just tuning in, I forgot to hit live, so we already went through a whole lot of stuff, but we're going to start from the beginning again. Dominic used to work for me, and Anthony was on last week, and by popular demand, everybody wanted him back on. Their uncle was Con Erico, and he told all about his uncle and my dealings with him and everything else. And we won't get into that again because we already did. But I want to hear from Dominic, the guy that used to work for me about 40, 50 years ago. And the first thing I want to ask you, was I a good boss?
Larry, you were a very good boss. I had a lot of fun. You weren't around too much, but Peter was training for you, and you did come around. And when you did, I mean, it was great. I had not one problem with you. And you came to the barn one day. You were looking for something, and you were aggravated. You couldn't find it, so you turned all the trunks over, except for mine. So Elaine was kind of nervous because she had it in the office, and she didn't want to mention it to you until the next day because you were pretty pissed off. So you got in your car, you opened up the window, and you said, "Is everybody glad I came today?"
You know who? You remember Dee Macedonia? She worked for me at that time.
Yeah.
She used to cry every time I would get mad. She would cry. She'd get so upset. And I used to get mad because if I opened up a trunk and everything wasn't there, I mean everything in place, I would go. I'd just turn trunks over. I would just turn trunks over.
Well, you looked in mine, and you just left it alone. But Elaine was very nervous, so she told you the next day. She said, I'm sorry, it was in the office.
Well, all everybody had to do is do just what, because I had I had all the best grooms, I think. Um, So, but every once in a while that happens. I get a little cranky once in a while. I'm like a perfectionist, and that I always had brand new trunks. I always had brand new
always
race
clean,
bikes, dog carts, everything. Everything was brand new, spick and span, and then I bought that barn that way you worked at Sunshine Meadows, that 40 stall barn. And I think Fred Bradbury worked for me, right? He broke the yearlings.
Fred Bradbury and his wife Laura was there.
Laura, right. And that's right. Her name was Laura. At that time, I had shipped a couple of horses to California, and there was a time there where I would fly to from Florida to California, from California to New Jersey, from New Jersey to Florida. Every 2 days I'd be in a different state. That's probably why I wasn't around. I wasn't around much because I had horses that I forgot what track it was. Los Alamitos. I forgot what track it was in California. Los Alamitos. Yeah, they had a big stake race there, and I brought one of the horses I had. I forget which one down there for one of the big races, and I brought 4 or 5 more down there. And that's probably why I wasn't around too much.
Now you got decent.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. What?
Leah Baker is saying hi, Dominic.
Leah Baker. Hello, Dominic. Do you know her?
Leah, yes, I do. Hello, Leah. Yes.
Okay. All right. What else you want to talk about? Who wants to talk first? But let me tell you a couple of things. But now that you're on, I remember a couple of things about Monticello, and these things just come into mind because while I was working today, changing the studios and everything. I was thinking about racing at Monticello, and both of you were up there. Well, I know Anthony, you were. And I just and I mentioned this to Jimmy here, and he says you should mention that. And what I meant was why incompetence and not understanding horse racing means so much. Not only did the incompetent people destroy the business, but they didn't understand a lot of things that happen on the racetrack. And I'm just going to mention this, and then we'll get back to you guys. There's such a thing as professional courtesy on the racetrack that you have to have. It can't just be cutthroat once you're out there. Naturally, once you're out there, everybody's looking to win, but you got to look to win in a safe, professional way. No dirty tricks, no nothing. So there's a certain amount of professional courtesy you need. And by that, I'm going to tell you a story, and it has to do with probably one of the reasons why they eliminated the hub rail. While they had the hub rail in Monticello, and the hub rail at Monticello was about maybe 2 feet high and maybe a foot wide. And one day in a race, the gate left, and the guy on the lead wouldn't let another guy go. He wouldn't let him make the top, and the fractions were crazy, and they were going, and they were 2 tiers right from the beginning of the race because he wouldn't let the guy make the top. So they were 2 tiers. I was sitting third, and going down the backstretch, the 2 front horses starting to slow up, but they were starting to jam everybody up. The race was getting a little jammed up. And I had a horse that was, all my horses were, they were in pretty good shape. And he was starting to choke, and the race was getting slower, the pace was getting slower and slower. So I looked over and Jim Grundy was on the second tier. He was right on the outside of me. And I said, Jim, you got to give me some room. I'm in a little trouble here, this horse. And he was wheezing like crazy. And Grundy says, you'll be all right. You'll be okay. And the pace was getting slower and slower, and nobody was making a move. There was no room. I said, Jimmy, I'm in trouble. Let me out. He'll be all right. The horse went down. snapped his neck, and died right on the racetrack.
Oh,
So that's what I mean. Now, if that was me, I would have, once the guy's in trouble and you can hear the horse wheezing, you're supposed to let the guy out. But Grundy
Right.
was Grundy, and that was that. And that probably had something to do, or maybe other things like that would eliminate. And if there was no hub rail at that point, I could have just went on the infield, and the horse would have been alive today. But had Grundy let me out, the judges would never understand that move. And they would have gave him days and had him under suspension. Why'd you let him out? Well, you know, and he would have said the same thing I said. But if you're not a horseman and you don't know what the hell you're doing, you could never understand a situation like that. And the other thing was the two kids, and it reminded me of the Merton kids. I think one of them just won 4 or 5 races in a row at Tioga, I think. And his father was the one that finishing a mile one day at Monticello. He went down right in front of me, and I got run over by every horse behind me, landed on a hub rail, broke 8 or 9 ribs. I wake up in the hospital in Monticello. Who's laying next to me? Bobby Merton. And what happened is when his horse went down, I was right behind him. My horse went right over him. His heel got caught in the stirrup, pushed down. And when I looked over in the hospital, his leg from the knee down was just resting alongside of him and come right off. And these are the dangers that all these harness drivers face today. And many, back in them years, there were one year when 5 harness drivers got killed from Houghton all the way down. So, you know, it's not easy out there. It's not fun. And that's why it's so important to have people that judge these races and write these rules understand horse racing and how dangerous it is. I talked enough. You guys got to go ahead.
I just want to tell you a quick story on, you know, similar to yours. I was racing in Freehold one day. Guy asked me to drive his horse. I says, okay. So he had the handholds back pretty far. So scoring her down, she was okay. It was raining that day. And the gate left, and I'm strangling this horse. Now I'm stuck in a hole, and I can't get out. And I can't get my hands enough to wrap around the lines to pull her back anymore. And the guy in front of me, he's smashing his helmet against the horse's face to get him off him, because I'm literally climbing over the horse in front of me. Now, all I can think of is that I'm going to cause a bad accident here. I have no choice. Everybody on the side of me kept yelling, don't come, don't come, don't come. They see I was in trouble. Nobody let me out. Thank God, the head of the stretch, the horse in front of me bared out. I shot up the middle, won the race, paid $143. But if not for that, if that horse didn't bear out, I would have went over somebody. I would have caused a bad accident.
Yeah,
but they seen that I was in trouble, and no one moved to let me out.
Dominic, did you have a driver's license?
No, I didn't. No. I left the business, I think, 87 or 88.
Well, I left in 87.
Yeah, it was from 74 to 87.
Yeah.
Now, I meant to ask you, Larry, do you keep in touch with Lou Gigani?
Yeah, I was going to ask him that.
When I got barred in 86. The whole world knows that. I don't have to go into that. I got barred in 86. When I got barred in 86, Ralph Gigante was working for me, Louis's cousin. And Louis was starting to get out of the business just a little bit before that. And Louis started a limousine business. I think his father had it, and then he got it. Mm-hmm. He had about 30 or 40 limousines in one of the big hotels in the city. So he moved right into a real good situation, opened up a restaurant, or took over a restaurant that was downtown in Little Italy, and he became very, very, very successful. Louis was an excellent driver. He was a really good driver, really gutsy guy, good guy, and me and him for the 10 years that we were up there, we were like brothers. We were together all the time. But he left before me, and got out of the game and took over that limousine business and the restaurant. Very, very successful. Ralph left the business when I got barred in '84, and he begged me to come to he took over. He got a job on the waterfront where his cousin was the shop steward down at the pier in Newark, I think, or Edison. And they ran the whole pier between him and his cousin Andrew, and they ran. I think it was Midstate and then Sealand and Maersk. They ran that whole Sealand and Maersk lines. So between Andrew and his brother and Ralphie, they ran there. And Ralphie asked me to go down with him. He says, "You'll be making $200,000-300,000 a year." And I says, "No," I says, "I'm going to try to fight this thing." So I never went down with Ralph. When I got barred, I fought to get my license back in 3 different states. Cost me $1 million. I wind up losing all my houses fighting for the appeal, and I lost the appeal. And then in '86, that was the end of me. I went from mansions to park benches.
You had a big Super Bowl party at your house at that winter. Do you remember that?
The one in Florida?
Yeah, big Super Bowl party you had.
No, I don't remember that. I remember I used to go to Mother Butler Pies that were right next to Denny's on Commercial Boulevard, and I'd buy maybe 30 pies, banana cream pie, chocolate cream. I'd buy all the pies. And because every Sunday, I think I had people over barbecuing because I had that big pool and big patio in the back.
Yeah.
So
you had a spread like I can't tell you that Super Bowl.
Yeah. Do you remember the kitchen I had made in the? I had a dining room kitchen. Do you remember the table? It could fit like 20 people. It had to be 20, 30 feet long, and I had a special. Do you remember that?
That's where everybody ate. I mean, you could.
Yeah.
The amount of people that were there, you needed a table that big.
Yeah.
You know, I remember it all. I really do. You had the big TV. I mean, it was the biggest TV back then. You know, but it was a nice party. You know, and everybody came. Everybody at the barn. Your friends from wherever. You know, it was a nice time.
What made you get out of the business?
Well, Anthony retired Beverly Noble, which he bought for a song and a dance, and I think he made like $245,000 lifetime, right?
No, he made more than that. He made over $300,000.
More than that.
Yeah, beat the open trot. I bought him for $5,000, or for Ron Wren, and I actually he beat the open trot at the Meadowlands.
What was the horse's name?
Beverly Noble. Slutsky bought him for $42,000 as a yearling. I got him for $5,000 as a 4-year-old.
Ron Wren.
Yeah.
The last time that poor guy, he was funny as hell, really nice guy. I gave him a bet. I told him to bet for me one day. Something was going on, and he happened to be in a paddock, and I sent him out. And I think I won 15, 20,000 to the bet. So Ron was supposed to meet me in the steak pub after the races. Never showed up. He showed up about 3 months later in Florida, and but naturally, how could you get mad at him? Because he was just a funny guy. And he says that he was with a girl that night. He had all that money he collected, and he just took off to Puerto Rico or someplace. And when he went broke, he came back, and then he died a short time after that. He was a really nice guy. He shouldn't have been in the horse business, but he was a really nice guy. Good family too.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from Jim Curran.
Yeah,
we worked for him for quite a few years.
Well, you worked for him too, Anthony, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had my own horse. I worked for him, had my own horses, but we always stuck together. We always stabled together wherever we went. And even a couple of years with Pat Coglietta at the Meadowlands. And but mostly hung out with Jim. Yeah. You know, whether I had my own horses or not, I was always with Jim.
He was always on the up and up.
Yeah.
Did Jimmy Curran have a daughter?
Yeah, Kathy.
Yeah. Kathy. Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Let's just move on from
And then-
that.
Yeah.
And then he was
we-
married,
we-
and then he had,
I
he had
didn't know if it was.
somebody on the side.
Yeah, what a story that is.
Yeah.
No, but we can't
No.
say that.
But
No.
Jim's love was golf.
Yeah,
If it was up to him, he would have been a golfer.
See, that was the difference. Why, when we talked about feet, why I was so interested in feet. From the time I got stalls at Roosevelt Raceway, I used to go. I asked who the best blacksmiths on the grounds were, and they were the Sharp brothers that used to shoot Stanley Dan Houghton's horses. I sat instead of going to play golf, I sat in a blacksmith shop all afternoon.
Mm.
I went around with Dr. Carter back then. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that's why I just got so wrapped up in the game. I just really loved it. And that's why a lot of the people that are listening, a lot of people say, why did you do what you did? What I did, I didn't want to do. I loved the business and loved the competition so much that if it wasn't for that fucking Tannenbaum, and everybody says, why do you blaming everything on Tannenbaum? Because he was a
He did it.
bad guy who
Yeah.
did something bad to me that I wasn't guilty of it. He changed my whole life around. It made me do what I did. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about me. You guys tell any stories, Dominic, about the old days?
I'd like to get a hold of Charlie Giamenco and see if he can come on the podcast. What do you think about that?
I'd love to see Charlie. I see Charlie. Charlie was first of all them brothers were really good-looking guys. All of them. And I seen Charlie on Facebook. He's got a gorgeous wife.
Vicky.
Oh,
Yeah, we went to his wedding.
Always
we went to his
smiling,
wedding, yeah.
always laughing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a good guy. I'd love to have him on.
I
I want to have a lot of people on because this whole thing now is talking. It started out with all the mob bullshit and the gambling and everything else, but everybody already heard my story. And if somebody is interested, they could always ask me. Like I named this thing "Anything Goes." You ask me anything, but it's turning out to be all about horses and training and everything. And I'm trying very hard to get a thoroughbred trainer on here or a jockey. And the ones that I know won't come on and tell the truth because they'll, then they have to go back and face. So I'm trying. And Ian McKinley, I don't know if you watch that show, but Ian McKinley says, I got a guy for you.
He'll hook you up.
And all I want to do is I just want to ask him certain questions and talk about the difference in training and why and how come and maybe just go in and give my opinion and but because you see the problem is I just talk and I talk and I talk and the reason I have to answer a lot of questions is because I say a lot of things and I'm surprised I didn't get a death threat from the trainer of Sierra Leone.
Oh, Sierra Leone, yeah.
Because I made a big deal about. I said that bit that he changed wasn't going to do anything, and this and that, and then I go into a little bit more, and I say a lot of things, and then when you say something, and people ask you a question about it, you have to, and that was the reason I asked you to come on because a lot of people didn't believe because the story that I told about me and your uncle, it's very, very hard to believe that we, what we did. And
it almost sounds far-fetched,
Go ahead.
It almost sounds far-fetched, but it's the truth.
Yeah. So whatever I say, I have to kind of prove,
Well, Larry, I think that if not for fat lose 150 pounds and still fat, Tony Shula, you probably would have been one of the ones eating dinner at my grandmother's on Sundays.
Yeah.
My uncle, he didn't say nothing bad about you. He always, I don't know. To me, he always had this hidden little protection about it. I don't know. That's just my thoughts, but yeah.
Well, what else?
Tell me about the story about the girl on the phone, Don.
Oh, okay. My brother decided to come to Sunshine Meadows that winter for like a little time off, you know.
When you
So
were with me?
Yeah.
yeah, I was with you, yeah. And then he came to the barn. You happened to be there, and there's this girl that was on the, you know, on the track, and she was like one barn over, and she was like, you know, she was heavy, a couple of teeth in her mouth, you know. So the both of you decided to tell her that I liked her, but I was too shy to say anything. So I'm on the track, and I see you go like this. I said, what the hell is wrong with me, you know? So then he's finally telling me what you told her. I said, you son of a bitches.
It was all Larry's idea. I didn't want to have anything
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
with
right. What is this girl smiling at me for all the time? He's too shy, but he really likes you.
Yeah. No, it'd be good if I'll give Charlie a call because we
Yeah,
still
yeah,
talk
yeah.
to Charlie.
I would love to
Yeah.
have him on.
Yeah.
And just tell him when you talk to him, if he wants to come on, make sure he has all this equipment or whatever. You know what to say.
Yeah,
Hold on,
yeah.
Jimmy wants to ask me something. Oh, Bill Stacks. Bill Stacks. I just got a message. See, I can't talk and read the messages, so Jimmy reads them for me. And my friend Bill Stacks just said a hello.
And
So
said
hello
to Dom and Anthony.
Hello to him, and he says
Hello.
hello to both these guys. He has a great podcast. He's one of these guys that he talks about all he's on a new kick now. He really crucifies these guys that become government informants, and from Sammy Gravano all the way down, and he has an unbelievable show, and he really tells it the way it is, and also. I think he's making a film. He's doing it himself. I think he raised the money. He's doing it himself.
Wow.
Whatever. I don't know, but he's a really nice guy, good kid, and I wish him all.
What's
all
the name of his podcast?
The name of his podcast is Chatting with Stacks.
Chatting with Stacks.
Chatting with
Okay.
Stacks. Yeah.
All right.
He's
I gotta catch
he's a really good kid, and he
Good.
does everything he does by himself.
Wow.
He's an amazing guy. He works from morning till night only for content for his podcast, and I think now he's making the movie. I've been so busy with my thing because it looks like my movie is on the fast track now, and we're doing a lot of things. We had to get a whole bunch of information down. In fact, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, I got another conference call. I may be going to California, and we just had to get a new budget written up because we shortened the movie. It was going to be a TV series, which might come after the movie, but we'll see. Anyway, I want you guys to say, you got any good stuff to talk about? Because President Biden
Yeah, we only got
called me up.
not even 20
And
minutes.
Trump's people called me up and they said, Larry, we don't want your podcast to run too long. We want as many people watching, and so the millions that watch me.
Right, yeah. You can't take away from that.
So
It's only fair.
we're going to go in another 3 or 4 minutes. We're going to end it as out of respect to Biden and Trump.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
we could watch it. So any last things?
What else you got, Dom?
Do we have time for a short story?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. When the Meadowlands first opened, I worked for this guy called his name was Jim DeSpain. He was from
Great
Illinois.
guy. Chum.
Go ahead.
Okay, he was from Illinois. Now he would go back and forth to Illinois to the Meadowlands like once a week. So he kind of left me in charge of this one horse. His name was Brave Spring. Now, for some reason, this horse did not race the way he did when he was in Illinois. So we thought it was the track and this or that. He would throw his head back a lot, and that affected his racing. So one day after jogging him, I grabbed his tongue, I looked underneath, and I saw on the roof of his mouth, he had this red blotch. Now, the overcheck bit that he had in his mouth was pressing on it. So when he got back, I told him, I said, look, this horse is throwing his head because of that bit. I said, it's bothering him. So put him in the race. He warmed him up with just a regular overcheck bit. It missed that saw. Whatever that was, till this day, I still don't know. But he warmed him up. He says, okay, we're going to race him with it. Getting back to what you said, how important it is to fine tune that horse, right? Size hobbles, shoes, this, that, boots, proper boots. That horse wins that night. And ever since that night, he picked up a check, second, third. He won again. That bit was bothering his mouth and would cause him to throw his head back.
Just think that if instead of putting a different overcheck in his mouth, had you put a chin strap on him, he probably all the seconds and thirds would have been wins.
I think what happened was he leaned too much into it. So he needed something in his mouth to keep his head up.
90% of the time, I don't want to go into training, but 90% of the time, the horses that lean a lot, they have a tendency, all the trainers, to put more severe overchecks in. Why don't you just let the head check down, let him carry his head where he wants, and if he's controllable, just leave it there.
That's what I'm talking about, and he was a different horse after that. Now, when he was ready to go back to Illinois after the Meadowlands meet, wanted me to come with him. I said, I live here. I can't, Plus, I had an obligation with I was working for CAT or something like that. But it just goes to show, back to what you said about fine-tuning that horse. Everything has to be right. Never mind getting to the races, that's how a horse can win. You have to have the right equipment. And if you don't, it's going to show.
Well, just like I said in a couple of other podcasts, and that's why I say, and I always say, in fact, Ian McKinley took a little offense to that when I said that standardbred trainers, and it's really not a knock against thoroughbred trainers, because if you have I'll put it to you this way, that thoroughbred trainers, it's run on a natural gait. There's no length of toe, there's nothing. It's just a natural gait. It's like you can't blame a guy who don't know how to fix a flat if he drives cars with solid tires. He would never get a flat, so why would he have to know how to fix a flat? Same thing with thoroughbred trainers. They put themselves on a pedestal when maybe in that business that they deserve to be on a pedestal. But I've seen many guys, and this is where I disagree a little bit with Ian, but I didn't want to go into it. Many guys, and I can name 5 right off the bat that you would know, that went to the thoroughbred industry and became mediocre, not because you can't become famous or big or have much success unless you have 30, 40, 50 horses. You just can't. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen one come from the thoroughbreds to the standardbreds. I've seen it the other way around. I've seen a couple that tried, they couldn't do it. I've seen a couple of jockeys, in fact, Baeza and Cordero, they're in the same ball at me at Aqueduct. They tried training. They both got out of the business immediately.
How are they going to know how to shoo a horse off their knees or something like that, or try to get him where he's not hitting his shins as bad? I mean, they can't. It's just
well. That's why I was a little surprised when Ian, because Ian is the best at that. Look, Ian stands alone when it comes to feet,
for sure.
But his opinion. That's why I said to him, you're being very kind to the people that you work for, because it's a little bit different. But he's the best at what he does. I patched quarter cracks probably before he might even been born. But I always use fiberglass. Fiberglass never separated from the foot. Never had a problem with fiberglass, and I didn't patch as many patches as quarter cracks as he did, but I patched
Your fair share.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more stories? Because
Well, it's almost 10 of. I don't know how much longer you want to go.
all right. So I'm so sorry that I forgot to hit live because we wasted 15 minutes of really good stuff.
All right. Well, we'll do it again sometime.
And we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Because,
And I'll give Charlie a call.
yeah, give Charlie a call
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I could have Charlie come in and fill this little spot over here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So when you get Charlie
all
and he
of us.
wants to do it, make sure he has a computer. Make sure you know what to tell him to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie is no dummy. He's general manager of Honda in Long Island.
Yeah.
I wish
so-
he was closer because I'd ask him a favor. I'd ask him. Here's what I would ask him. Well, he couldn't do it anyway because the car business now is very, very difficult. There's no cars around. But if he ever ran the wholesale division, I could have. Anyway, good for him.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get him on.
Charlie and see who else that we know. I
Okay.
just contacted Kurt Watson, guy who made all the race bikes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Peter and all them race bikes.
Yeah.
He made the best race bikes in the world. In fact, they're all over the world. And he's really sick with asthma and everything, and with the humidity, he's having a lot of trouble breathing. But he says as soon as he gets over this thing, he's going to come on. That's going to be an interesting conversation about how he started with the bikes and how
they progressed over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just got better and faster.
Yeah.
And he'd be a great guy. And that's what I want to do. I want to try to get jockeys on here. I want to get drivers on here. But the drivers in harness racing don't want to come on here because of my reputation. They won't be associated with somebody like me that did what I did because of my past. So it's hard to get them on, and I won't call them and ask them to come on. I asked two of them to come on, and both of them said yeah, and then the last minute they bailed out. So I'm not going to ask no more. And I understand, and I don't blame them. I don't think I would do it, but I certainly don't blame them. And I only hope that that they all saved a lot of money because the business that they're in is in a lot of trouble. And some of these guys, they should have guys like Campbell and O'Donnell. If they had guys like these two guys that know the business from training to grooming to racing to everything, run these racetracks, and we're in charge of hiring the right people, the
industry would be good. Yeah.
would not be in the shape that it's in right now. And it just, all these racetracks became political dumping grounds, and they ruined the whole business aside from many other things.
Say goodnight.
Okay.
All right.
I got to say good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much for coming on. I'm
Yeah, no
sorry I
problem.
screwed up.
Thanks for inviting me. I had a good
We're
time.
going to come back again with Charlie. Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so think of some more stories.
Yeah. Once we get Charlie on, we'll have 100 stories.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
All right. Bye.
Take care, Larry.
So long.